Well, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for tuning in. For the majority of you, that will be online, which is fine. It's lovely. Glad you can be here. So today, oh, sorry about that. Let me get that off the screen. Professionalism at its finest, folks. Today, we are looking at, well, first we have to get some introductions out of the way. So let's get on with those. Thank you, Zach. We have some people coming in person I've spoken to about halfway through all of this. So if I duck out for a moment, that's where I'll be. We have our acknowledgement of country. In affiliation with USQ, I don't even know if country is quite technically right, but I'm doing my research into this. In affiliation with USQ, Wisdom and the Enneagram acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we gather today. These are the Gayabal and Jarowair peoples of the Toowoomba area, where the USQ Toowoomba campus has been built. Have a table. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So here is our big picture, our focus, where it all comes down to, what it's all about, what's actually important in all of this. It's not an exhaustive description, but I'm trying to be succinct and also not shallow. So we're concerned about the whole person. We want to produce could be a better word for this, but through learning this system of moving from one place to another as a person, to produce, we'll go with that word, an untroubled mind, unwavering heart, and an unblemished body, a whole and healthy person. This is the central prayer and tenet of what we do, of Enneagrammic practice. We are a new kind of club. We aim to facilitate the well-being of the whole person through our teaching and learning. We are expansive and expanding for all people, regardless of circumstances, background, religion, race, sexuality, to know love, peace, healing and restoration, and show up in the community with joy and hope for the future. That's what we're about. And today's session, instinctual variance. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? Sounds like what you want to be doing on your weekend. We're going to take a break from talking about wings and instead focus on the instinctual variants. What are they? Because wings, oh, sorry, we're not quite there yet. Because wings are such a nuanced topic, we will be returning to them at a later date with a more holistic approach. I'm doing more research into all of this, and I just don't want to be giving people misinformation. Of course, you guys can do your own research, and I encourage you to do your own research for those who are interested. So, all right, so let's have a look at these instinctual variants of the 9 Ennea types. Hopefully my person doesn't miss out on everything. Okay, our overview for today. So the instinctual variants these are our basic human instincts. You can see these in every interaction and in the different narratives of and stories and ways we navigate through the world. I'm doing really well with my sentences today. Self-preservation, social, and sexual. And these SP, SO, and SX are how we will continue to refer to them. And today we're looking at the examples of types 2, 3, and 4, which are all in the heart triad, which we will look at in detail, triads and such later. I'm moving too quickly. Slow down a little bit. Sorry, folks. Okay, so our self-preservation instinct. So fundamentally self-preserving, as the name implies. This instinct is concerned with survival and well-being, most fundamentally. Is attuned to resources, to how much one has, where they're going to get things, both physical and mental, in their environment. That's a very baseline definition. Superficial, perhaps. Social. the navigating instinct, navigating between groups and alliances, manifests in relation to a group and to group dynamics. When this instinct is dominant, the personality is more concerned with approval and fitting in, focused on forming and maintaining alliances and social structures. Social structures is what it's all about, this instinct. Sexual instinct, transmitting instinct. Can be expressed as a strong drive for intensity and to perpetuate, to continue across time and into the future. Relationally, concerned most fundamentally with finding a soulmate and building a love bond with them that will last the storms of life. Of course, all people do this. It perhaps sees the world more through this lens than others, is what I would say. Still moving a bit quickly, I apologize. Sorry, just checking my phone here. Okay, actually I'll keep this with me because I have some notes to refer to. Classes are going on. Nerd alert. Okay. Interesting facts. How the instinctual variants stack. Everyone expresses all three basic instincts because they're basic human instincts as part of their makeup as a person. One instinct will be dominant or relied upon the most, another inferior or relied upon the least, often referred to as the blind spot, this inferior instinct of the personality type. And the third instinct will stack somewhere in the middle. For example, someone could be an SPSX6, me. That person's blind spot would be their social instinct. I do not prioritize strongly the social structures and alliances as much as I do look to my close, intimate relationships and my own resources. That's how that works. So every type, furthermore, has a counter type, which seems to go against the regular patterns of behavior. Hence, it's been given this term counter type. So we'll look at some examples of those now. So yes, so the instinctual variants, or IVs, as I've called them, of type 2, commonly referred to as the helper or giver or the lover even. So the self-preservation instinct in type 2, here are some fun people. Entitlement is a big word for this one. I'm entitled to whatever I need because of how much I've done for everyone else. This is how these people think. It's their attitude towards relationships. Of course, I can't explain all of the levels of health and unhealth and development in one session, but not everyone is always operating at an unhealthy place of living out the more rigid parts of the personality. Everyone, can unfold and become healthy and see more clearly and be able to love others more freely without all of this neurosis getting in the way. But we'll begin from here. We've got some notes on this one. Self-preservation instinct, entitlement. Feel self-important, taking pride in their sacrifices and increasingly feeling entitled to indulge themselves in whatever they feel will compensate for their suffering. Suffering as they give to others, that is. Demands for special privileges and repayment for their sacrifices coexist with overeating and medicating to suppress aggressive feelings. This isn't true for everyone, of course. These are some examples. This is from the book, The Wisdom of the Enneagram. I forget the rest of that title. By Don Richard, I think I'm saying that name right, Riso and Russ Hudson. So denials of their problems alternate with complaints. Either I don't need help or nobody notices my needs. Increasingly rely on emotional manipulation of others, guilt trips, to get their needs met. In the unhealthy range, Annie Wilkes here from Misery, a movie I haven't seen, but I have seen clips of and analyses of, is an example of someone who's unhealthy with the self-preservation instinct strong. I'm not sure if it is in the front, but it seems to be strong. So in the unhealthy range, self-preservation twos become trapped in delusional self-importance and gross neglect or abuse of their own physical well-being. This also, as we can see in some of these examples, becomes overstepping boundaries and starting to do the opposite of what they originally set out to do and hurting others because they're not getting their needs met. That's all there is to really say about this type. They're the counter type because they're more, the self-preservation instinct is strong at the front. And so they're also equally concerned with getting what they need. It's not, all twos, when they're not healthy, are doing it to get something in return, but this type is doing it the most consciously. So hence it's the counter type. Yes, all the self-preservers are counter types in the heart pride, actually. It's interesting. So the social instinct into everybody's friend, ambitious, proud, larger than life, good in front of groups, a leader type. So yeah, this type, I think I have notes on my phone about this one. This type is, like I say, a leader, very much concerned with the group and uses their seductive powers in a more intellectual way to attract and engage groups, communities, and broader systems. They stand out from the crowd, often taking a central or leadership role, enjoy being in the know and build their influence. That's key for this social instinct, on their competence and connections. Giving more than they get may be a strategy to distract them from uncomfortable feelings. The pride of the two in being larger than life and having more, possessing more, going through life as if they possess more than they actually do is very obvious in this type. And there's a Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation, who I've seen a little of, and her character makes me think of this. And that's about it for that one. Sexual instinct into, I couldn't think, I mean, I know some people in my life who are this type, who are this variant, sorry. Got to think of some better terms, but that'll do for now. But I can't think of any from media or films or anything, so. But some themes, obviously seductive. This type is seductive and aggressive, they have this transmitting energy of, I'm going to, I need to satisfy this love need because it hasn't been met somewhere in childhood. And now I'm going to seek it out by being, relationally relentless and irreplaceable and desirable, so that it comes out in a willfulness and a wild at heart. All the histrionic is one way you can describe this. That's probably iffy because of the connotations that has today. But yeah, it's a willful, seductive, aggressive, strong, I'm here and I'm going to love you with everything, I'm going to, I want you to reciprocate this too, though. Otherwise, I'm going to explode emotionally in some not so great ways. It's more than that. These are very superficial, shallow, just basic descriptions, but that's as deep as we can go today. This is just an overview, I'm afraid. Moving into 3. Not sure if this person's going to make it. That is okay. Yes, so commonly referred to as the achiever or performer. Blue tack all over my fingers now. That was not smart. The self-preservation instinct in 3. Least image-oriented instinctual variant. There's a mouthful. Reliable, efficient, productive, and pragmatic workaholic. Can be workaholics. Again, this depends on health and awareness and all of that fun stuff, which I can't talk about to the depth that I'd like to right now. Working on some books. So that'll be fun. But, I'm a uni student, so we'll see how we go. All right. Hang 5, folks. I'm going to let this person in and we will continue. Be right back. Oh, stop. Stay open. Yeah, normally we're in 10. Wow. Oh, this way, sorry. Get easily disoriented in here. It'd be really funny if the whole audience heard all of that. All right. Moving on, folks. Type 3, specifically the self-preservation instinct in type 3. Again, as I've said, for all the types in the heart triad, which we'll discuss in detail later, the self-preservation variant is the counter type. Yeah, okay, so 3. Sorry, we're still in 2. Let me move on. So I say least image oriented. So they're the least likely to, sorry, Zach, can we just go back to that last instinct? Thank you. So dislike advertising their strengths and accomplishments overtly, and avoid being seen as much as image oriented. Of course, definitely want to be recognized for hard work and excellence, reliable, efficient, productive. They're in it to do it and to stay secure by putting in the hard yards. And I think Chris Gardner, from those who've seen Pursuit of Happiness, is probably an example of this. I mean, I can't know for certain the motivations, but I think of my brother, he's probably this one too. Yeah, so self-pres 3, security. So this one's fun. So the social instinct in 3. So, I mean, we're looking at like actors and pop stars. And I think this one is a more obvious 3 because, you know, they're after that prestige. So the influence is competitive, the marketing instinct, relish the spotlight, needs to be seen as the best. Looking good and successful is very important. And so image conscious, you know, they're polished. They are only what they present to the world is what they'd like to believe. Yeah, these guys are all about their image and maintaining their image and being, their successful image. So I don't have much more to say on this one at length, just because I'm mindful of all I have to go through here and I want to say the right things. So moving on, thanks, Zach. So the sexual instinct in 3. So this one's really interesting. Some of the characters I've pulled up here today. So they see success. I mean, all types see things in relational terms to differing degrees. But they sort of filter success through relational terms. So, you know, they're going to have this charisma. And I say devils, not in an evil sense, so much as your more wily personalities. So they're projecting this fantastic image. Think Fantastic Mr. Fox, or obviously Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Really unhealthy sexual 3 there. He's empty. he's empty. And so he is, I mean, there's probably other psychosis going on there, but he's this empty 3. Ooh, so empty, the screen went blank. He's this empty 3 projecting a fantastic image that is not only attractive to himself so he can keep maintaining it, but it's effectively deceiving the people around him. While, again, I've not seen this film, I've seen clips of it and I've seen the character analyses. That's, yeah, I want to say more about this, but that's like the really unhealthy side of someone who'd be strong in this instinct. And then guys like Mr. Fox, you know, he's really charismatic and ends up wiling people into doing all these crazy missions with him. Yeah, it's not as, I'd like to go deeper, but this is our overview for today. So now we'll move into type 4. Commonly referred to as the individualist or romantic. There are many names for all these different types, but these are like commonly thrown around. So self-preservation in 4, long-suffering. Tenacity is a word I hear getting used, but I like long-suffering because it highlights the suffering that 4s feel, and that, depending on the instincts and the stacking, tend to wear and show and live in. So this one, though, being the countertype of 4, feels deeply and suffers like all 4s, but they live stoically with that emotional weight and pain without complaining. They're going to suppress that so that they can show up with positivity in the world and in their relationships, to use their emotional sensitivity to be empathic and relieve the suffering they can. These are a lot of the examples that I've seen. So John Keats, he was a famous romantic poet, portrayed in this film Bright Star. I think, and I've also read his poems. So coming through from what I'm reading, I'm seeing this something of like a suppression of the darker feelings so he can show up with positivity in the world, although he does still feel deeply and wants to create. And also is a great film. So yeah, that's a bit about that one. So I've got a lot of musicians for the 4s, just because I know a lot of where these musicians are coming from. And I think they're great examples. So I mean, think like Nick Cave. I don't know, Sufjan Stevens is probably too obscure. Although if you're in the right circles, you'll know him. I'll put it that way. So they're connected deeply to suffering and they find comfort in their melancholy. These are the 4-ish 4s, I guess. Emotionally sensitive, like it's there. You see it. They wear it. Feels inferior to others. They can feel inferior to others. Wants to be understood. Like that's key for who they really are. Envy and shame are at least more obvious in this variant than in other variants. I don't like that term, but I don't know what else to use at the moment. So, but yeah, love the 4s with that social prominent thing going on, because they're a lot of this dark expression, colorful, wanting to be real in the world. It's fun to see. So moving on finally to the sexual instinct in 4. Still feel like I'm going too quickly through this, folks. I do apologize. I've had caffeine yesterday, so I'm buzzed. No. Okay, so our sexual instinct in 4. This one, when I began to understand how this showed up in personalities, I was like, that's really cool, because some authors, some Enneagram experts, they're like, this is the angriest type. That all of that pain, emotional suffering, confusion, it's all coming out in screw the world. I am going to be the very best. No one is going to, I can't stay down here in my emotional suffering. I'm going to be intense, vocalize all of this. I'm going to be competitive. I'm going to be forceful, and I'm going to be the best. Yeah, and so they're angry. There's a lot of darkness, as you can see in characters like Eminem and NF. I mean, they really live in that space of darkness, and it's all coming out. Yeah, I feel like there's more I want to say on this one, but anger, like they're probably the angriest type variant because of these feelings. Yeah, they're escaping the suffering by trying to be the best in what they do. Demanding that others appreciate their needs may lead to a cycle of rejection, frustration, and anger. Ability to express these feelings of demand and anger may mask, and remember, we all start with our masks and taking off the masks to see what's behind them. May mask how sad or confused they really feel. So yeah, so that's a really, really quick overview of instinctual variance. I'm not sure. People will probably already have done a bit of research into this themselves, and that's good, and keep doing that. So in conclusion, all 9 enneatypes express the 3 basic human instincts: self-preservation, preserving the self, the resources, being in tune with the environment, what is necessary, what is needed. The social, navigating through the social structures and keeping those alliances alive and being concerned with the well-being of the self as it's affected by the well-being of the group. And then how these instincts stack is going to influence and shape a person's behavior and appearance. That's what all this has been about. We're trying to figure out, break down these dynamics superficially before we start looking at the motivations. And maybe I should have started from there, but I think I just want to strip all this away bit by bit. So we can start to go, okay, there are nuances to this, because that's important. Yeah, so we don't have a crowd today, but do you have questions for us? Zach, if you want to throw up that question slide, that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. And the different behaviors. Yeah. It's like, but because you hear a lot of people saying, but I don't act like this, or they try to talk about their wing as if it's like they're outsourcing all the cool things about them, all their problems. It's like, no, you want to look at this rather than the wings to talk about nuances in behavior and appearance. So that'll about do us for today. We'll wrap up. So just go to that last slide for a sec, because I'm not talking out of my hat. I'm not wearing a hat, so that would be impossible anyway. So I've got some references here. Oh, I'm sorry. That is really, I don't really see that. So some books and some websites. And today I am reading from my phone. Integrative Enneagram Solutions. And I think that was all I actually ended up looking at. There's great stuff on Personality Cafe for people who use that. And that's really all there is to this. One other channel I will mention is Chestnut. I forget. It's Beatrice Chestnut and Uranio Pies, and they have a joint channel on YouTube. So it's like Chestnut PAES Enneagram Academy. But that's about it. That's where I've taken all this stuff from. So thank you everyone who is tuning in, and for the in-person audience. We will see you next time. We'll continue talking, moving into the 5, 6, and 7, so the head triad, in the next couple of weeks. Thanks, Zach. We can wrap that up. Good show.